and Focus have secured that one. And an early Ocean Dragon is always going to feel really good, no matter what team it is, but especially on this composition.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to help. It's going to help you sustain through the lane a whole lot more. Of course, it doesn't really help Shen with the energy all that much. At least I don't think it does. I don't think it gives you energy regeneration. That'd be really broken if it did. But every other lane is going to feel really, really nice. And speaking of the rest of the lane for just randoms, they're keeping up in CS. In some instances, they're actually ahead right now. So even though they did lose those early 2 kills, they're still feeling very, very nice. And it seems that Shorehop, even just without that BF sword, his wave management has been spot on.
And it's so crucial, especially in this early parts of the game, to have that on. And really, I find it really interesting. It's something I think about a lot. And it's the mental play in the series and how it goes and how that affects the decision-making and everything going into the later parts of the game. And this game 1 has been a little bit topsy-turvy for both sides, and I think that as we get later in the game, one side is going to come out clear on ahead if the gold lands in the right pockets, but it all depends on how much this game matters for the rest of the series, how the draft books are adding up for who and where. So I'll have to see. Zenith Blade misses by Princess Kyle, so they're not going to get the engage they wanted.
Yeah, Focus with some very nice movement, not even needing to use his many dashes on Rakan, just walking around those skill shots. If either of those had landed, he was a dead Rakan. Well, or at least he would have had to use his dashes. You know, Rakan's got a million of those. But dodging those very, very nicely with just the brown paper bags on his feet. Keeps himself
just the
alive.
Brown paper bags. Oh my god, that's the greatest. Yep, alright, that's what they are for me now. They're no longer boots, they are brown paper bags. I appreciate you, Specs.
Well, I don't know if Rakan would even fit into it. Honestly, it's shocking to me that there's a regulation size for everyone. It's just the exact same boots.
The one size fits all.
The same boots are not fitting both Lilia and Renekton. That's not happening.
I mean, they have, they have some serious technology in Runeterra, and maybe they have one size fits all shoes. Maybe that's something we can look into in our lives. Maybe, maybe that's the future, Smacks.
Those are called slippers, Lemon.
Those are called slippers. Oh my god.
They're not boots. They're not slippers of speed.
But
they're boots.
I'm gonna make. I think I'm gonna take Kanye West's approach, and I'm just gonna make like literal paper bag shoes, and I'm gonna make millions, Smacks. I'm just telling you that right now.
I think the reason he makes millions off of those is because people like his music.
No.
I think that has something to do with that. I don't know if you can just get away with that if your name isn't Kanye West.
Come on, paper bag shoes by Mazel. You buy every single one of those.
I would, but I don't know if it's a successful business model if I'm your only customer, Lena.
True.
We gotta think about the economics of this.
I appreciate the loyal customer base, but yeah, we have League of Legends.
Yeah, we do have League of Legends, and Memento is thinking about economics of his own. He's got the Rift Herald already picked up, snuck that away, got the recall off. His former Sniper, he was pretty upset about it, but it's all right. Memento still has the quick recall, is going to be going down to the bot side of the map. And speaking of the bot side of the map and the Rift Herald here, no turret fights have been taken by the Caitlyn and Leona, which again, I have to further compliment Shorthop and Focus for just keeping the fort held down in this lane. This is a counter matchup by all stretches of the imagination. Leona is very, very nice into Rakan. You have the follow-up of the Caitlyn trap. So I have to commend them. They're keeping up in CS. They're ahead in CS, and they haven't lost a single turret fight.
They are doing just fine. It's kind of interesting not to see as much skirmishing and action going on here in the last few minutes. We get every now and then, junglers come up face to face. They just find each other and give each other a couple of love taps and walk away, but no real commit to a big fight yet. And it's going to come along, but just waiting for these item breakpoints that we highlighted so heavily already in this game, and for these dragons to really start mattering. This next dragon is an Infernal Dragon, which means we will have either the Mountain Soul or the Cloud Soul, but I still feel like this singular Infernal Dragon is going to be an important pickup for either of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, though, you gotta see that these ultimates are up for just randoms. Yeah. All 5 of them are available. All of their summoner spells are here. And Captain Shrimps, he's even got one in the back. He's got the summoner spell book. He's got Cleanse in tow. after he uses that Ghost. So this is going very, very well for the randoms. They can just go immediately for this Infernal Drake if they want it. But they do have to deal with this Rift Herald, who's going to get a couple of plates for Memento.
Thank you. He's going to get some gold on that as well. So nice little bit of sharing there. Sharing is caring, as they say. But with the Dragon having been spawned, War Machine Hyper sets his sights on just that. As it will be started up here, it could be contested by the bot lane. But don't know if they really want to commit to that, as the Dragon is getting very, very low. One Piltover Peacemaker is going to come in way too late, and that is already 2 up here for Just Randoms in the Dragon score.
Yeah, if Princess Kyle wants to go into that pit, he's not coming out. He is staying in there. He is Leona, so definitely do not want to hard commit to that one. But on the flip side, not forcing any of the ultimates out means that this dive can just come on through onto Kyle and Aaron.
See if they commit to it here. Princess Kyle will find it out. He's got the sniffer going, and they do engage immediately, but he pulls back. Here comes the Swirl Seed. That's TF Destiny as well. Look at the damage coming down. That Solar Flare was huge, but it's already Aaron going down. Next is going to be Bacchus Focus, and it's just chaos here in the bot lane. What did I say? When it starts rolling, that snowball is going to be huge, and Timmy Turner is trying to take a 1v4, but it is going to end in his doom. And that is a big turnaround. 1 for 4 in terms of kills for Just Randoms, and they are huge here going into this mid-game section.
That's the global threat there, Lennon. That is what you want to see out of these ultimates. All 4, well, not all 4, all 5 of them used, but 4 of
almost,
them.
almost.
Jorhop's still
The
keeping his
useless one.
curtain call ready. His time is still coming. He didn't need it in that fight. A 4 for 1 at the end of the day, and this is just random snowballing everything that they need, even getting the first turret.
That's so much gold going in. About 2,000 in the lead now is Just Randoms after such a quiet and steady early game. We see the tower dive just come through, and as I said, it just ensues after that. That was absolutely huge as we're going to get a replay of this match.
We do see Focus starting stunned up though, and like I mentioned, this is a very frail Rakan, so he is going to get taken down, but there are just so many ultimates. All of the members are here for Just Randoms. It's just too much. They will just overcome you with all of these global threat ultimates.
What a start here for the play calling on Just Random's side. I think that decision making was really, really nice. Yes, they didn't want to lose Pocus, but I'll take a 1 for 4 any day to get you ahead here. And with that being said, the bot lane being taken, they have their choice where they want to put this pressure. You already see the lane assignments coming out. Short Hop in the mid lane now, being able to get that farm quickly as this ADC, and being able to have this duo roaming around the map, having Pocus for these engages to help War Machine Hyper. It's going to be a big factor.
And I really like that he's going for this utility build as well. I was pretty upset. You know, I'm pretty notorious these days for really not liking Jhin. It is because he just does not deal any damage. But if you're in a composition where your main damage dealer is AD and you don't need to go for any damage, then Jhin actually can fit in very, very nicely with this exact build. You go for the Storm Razor into the Rapid Fire Cannon. You have that slow with a really big range in your auto attack, and then you have the slows and the Deadly Flourish Snare to back up your team in the thick of the fight from all the way 2 screens away. So that's a really nice situation for Jhin to be in. He's already got this Storm Razor down, and here's the fight.
The CC chain's going to land on the Princess Kyle. He is a Leona, though, so that's a bit unfortunate. But they do get a good amount of damage, force him to back, and could be pressuring this mid tower some more. War Machine Hyper wants it. He turns around, though. He got the speed, but decided to pull off with the decision there. And mid lane tower will not fall. But Rift Herald will be started up here. Timmy Turner will spot it out, though.
And I've been playing too much Urf. I thought he was going to do it. If that was Urf, you go. You go.
Yeah, it was 100%, yeah.
But no,
honestly, I feel like if it's like 98% of other Hectorings, you go on. And the War Machine Hyper is just too cool, calm, and collected.
It's the playoffs, Mazel. We gotta play serious. This is for all the marbles. Of course, it's double elimination, but you still want to stay in the top side of the bracket. And Just Randoms are really trying to carve their way into it, as they do have that Rift Herald now picked up by War Machine Hyper, dropping it immediately in that top lane, just continuing to break apart from that.
Yeah, it's gonna be almost all 3 outer towers here. Mid lane being defended really heavily now, but that tower is very low on health, so it will go down shortly, I'm sure. But Timmy Turner trying to get the Rift Herald stopped here before he can get a second charge off. Looks like he's going to be successful in that. So that feels good at least. They only got the 1 tower. They only got the 1 charge off. But now it is about defending this mid tower as it is the last standing defense on the outside perimeters of LSU.
It just feels like every single time that LSU try to take a deep breath, take a sigh of relief, that they can wait for the next play. Another one starts up. Now we have the Dragon, and they just absolutely cannot contest this at all. Just random continuing to take every single thing on the map. Yeah, they've lost 3 kills, but that was way earlier on in the game. They are so far ahead now, and they are the scaling team to boot. Now they're going with the Ghost.
I love that sound because you immediately know what's coming next. War Machine Hyper overextending, though. He takes the tower down, so he's not going to take that extra shot. The Destiny did come out, but they might want this fight. Solar Flare right onto him. Cleanse comes out for Captain Shrimp. Focus almost goes down, but he gets out as well. Now here comes the Curtain Call trying to do his best Swan Fang, but can he get the damage off? It is just going to be very healthy members for the side of LSU, and it's not really going to mean anything for Short Hop. Timmy Turner waiting on the side, did pop that Dominus. Not going to be able to really use it too much, and that's a kind of questionable call on the Renekton.
Yeah, you know, Lennon, that was a sigh of relief moment for LSU. They got a lot of the ultimates out of just randoms, and they all stayed alive. That's going to feel really good for the rest of this game. Or for the rest of the next minute or so, as the ultimates do have a cooldown. They will be available again. But for now... Oh, wait. Hold on.
What
Lennon.
do you got? What do you got?
I have seen something that just... it made me lose my train of thought. And I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
It was probably a good point, but now it's gone because of what I've just witnessed.
And
Lennon.
what is that you have witnessed?
Is this a real Lilia build? He's going Frozen Heart.
You know,
what is that?
Question. Oh, okay. So Coco told me when Lilia first came out, you literally just built straight tank on her, but that meant like Dead Man's Plate and like Spirit Visage.
Yeah, I've seen.
I don't know about
that.
About the Frozen Heart.
I've seen that one, Lennon.
Oh,
I haven't seen this.
It's the dark tech. The dark tech from another dimension, Max. We'll see what happens. Oh my God, Memento's getting dropped there. Then double knockup on the Princess Kyle. Look how much TC's coming down. Timmy Turner has joined the fight, but the TP's coming in as well. It goes right into a trap, but it's Princess Kyle who gets obliterated. The next damage comes out, and it's right onto Timmy Turner. The curtain call comes out. That's going to be Aaron falling as well. Memento just barely flashes out of War Machine Hyper's ultimate, but it doesn't matter. Captain Shrimps comes in with the Destiny and goes on a killing spree, and this is all just random.
Another 4 kills for just randoms, and there's another objective on the map for them to take afterward. They're going to start up this Baron immediately with all of their members, as we do see Captain Shrimps. He's even going to mess around in this jungle, but it just doesn't matter. Everyone on Louisiana State is dead, except for Yukio, who showed up late. Got his ultimate, but this Baron is dead.
And that's a big pickup here for just random. They're going to use this pressure around the map. They're on Soul Point here with another dragon spawning in 2 minutes, which means they are pretty much on a shopping spree here at this point on Summoner's Rift. And Smack, do you want to break down this replay that we got?
Yeah, first of all, just look at Memento's health. That's after getting hit by the Jhin, who you're itemizing against. You're going full tank. It just doesn't matter at all. This isn't even the full damage Jhin build. This is a utility one, as he's still just popping up. He's playing the stall game. He's getting his curtain call down. Everyone's just dying so fast. And here comes Captain Shrimp's ulti into the base, too, just knocking that kill down. And again, another 4 kills, another objective taken. This is looking like game 1 for just randoms.
Definitely is. About 6,000 gold in the lead here, 22 minutes in, and if they get this soul, they are going to be feeling real nice. Yukio, you are in some very bad trouble here. He just gets completely caught out, and that's one of those things you got to kind of scratch your head at, maybe just because it's game 1.
Yeah, that was a really nice show of hesitation there from Pocus, waiting for the flash to be used before using your grand entrance. As a Recon player, I tip my hat to you, Focus. Very nicely done. But yeah, just a nice kill onto Yukio after even flashing, and let it take it away.
Take it away. They're dying here. It is going to be a big under tower kill onto Timmy Turner. That one shot, my God. You built all this armor for what reason? One not even fourth shot just did a quarter of your health.
Yep. He's got the frozen heart.
He's got it.
He's doing
works.
it.
It's online.
It's doing something. It's making me
nice
upset. It's really
zoom out here. The damage on Princess Kyle. He's gonna go down. Short Hop is slaying right now, and the inhib is the next target. One more shot. The curtain call comes out. Can he just pick up everything here? One member falls, Yukio, as the inhibs do as well. Mid tower now a focus for War Machine, Hyper, and Pocus, but they just want to end the game here. They're going for the throat. Captain Shrimp's getting the damage in, getting that nice stat pad for themselves as they have a couple more Baroned up waves coming in and crashing onto LSU's Nexus. Can LSU put up a defense? It doesn't look like they want to. As War Machine Hyper looks for the engage, that Pocus getting stunned up and taken, but he goes right back to his team and he's just fine. The Unstoppable comes out for War Machine Hyper. Can't he get the damage off? Stand United gonna save the day. They get absolutely nobody smacked, and that is just random smashing game number 1.
Oh, wow. LSU didn't get a single kill for about 15 minutes in that game, Mazel. What a show of domination in just game number 1 for LSU. Now, it's a best of 3. My prediction can still come.
I think a lot of the draft bucks
still come true.
I think a lot of the draft bucks just went into just random's pockets. Like, really, their wallet just got real thick.
Oh, yeah. 3-17. LSU. You gotta figure out something. It really wasn't even the Rise pick at the end of the day. I'm just really confused about this Frozen Heart Lilia.
Well, and
can somebody please tell me, is this a real build? I don't think it looks very good. Now, they were losing, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe if they won, then people will be saying it was Smurf, but I don't know.
I feel like that has a lot to do with that. At least every time I see a Lilia, it's a very sink or swim champion. You get rolling early, you get that farm lead going, you can continue to press that advantage. But when you fall behind, when you get these couple deaths early, when you're always skirmishing this Hecarim who's so mobile and will be everywhere on the map, you just have no hope of catching up. And it's so hard because you don't feel useful in these team fights. You get the sleep off. What else do? You're so squishy. You get just canceled out by all this damage coming out from their squad. So I do think the build had a good amount to do with it, but I think it was just the pick and how it played on the map.
Yeah, they really just couldn't get that priority. They did get that first early gank off. It got first blood into this Rise, but really after that, you still are an early game Rise. You still do have to wait for the rest of your levels and items to come on in before you're really doing anything with that first blood, especially against a Twisted Fate. Once he hits 6, he's ready to go. He's ready to make these plays, and he's ready to kill your jungler. It's exactly what they did. And just randoms. They played their comp how they wanted to. They played their team fights how they wanted to. And that's a really, really bad thing for LSU when you are picking this composition who wants to be the one to make these early plays, who wants to get the priority on the map. You have to be the ones to dictate the pace of the game. And they did it once, but you have to keep that snowball rolling. And they weren't able to keep up. Just randoms taking that game number 1 with style.
They do, and it is best of 3, so we'll have to see what the response is from LSU in game number 2. But we're going to have the analyst desk break that down for the draft on the other side of this break. Do not touch that browser. And then Timmy Turner in the top side takes his own. That is 2-0 already for LSU, and you've got to be feeling real good in that prediction already early on, Smack.
Lennon, that's gonna feel very, very nice. We didn't actually.
When it does. Oh, speaking of, oh my God, first blood going over, and Yukio picks it up. That's not what we were expecting. And then Timmy Turner in the top side takes his own. That is new engaged immediately, but he pulls back. Here comes the Swirl Seed. That's TF Destiny as well. Look at the damage coming down. That Solar Flare was huge, but it's already Aaron going down. Next is going to be Bacchus Focus, and it's just chaos here in the bot lane. What did I say? When it starts rolling, That snowball is going to be huge, and Timmy Turner's trying to take a 1v4, but it is going to end in his doom. And that is a big turnaround, 1 for 4 in terms of kills for just randoms. And
I haven't seen this.
It's the dark tech from another dimension, Max. We'll see what happens. Oh my God, Memento's getting dropped there. The double knockup onto Princess Kyle. Look how much TC's coming down. Timmy Turner has joined the fight, but the TP's coming in as well. It goes right into a trap, but it's Princess Kyle who gets obliterated. The next damage comes out, and it's right onto Timmy Turner. The curtain call comes out. That's going to be Aaron falling as well. Memento just barely flashes out of War Machine Hyper's ultimate, but it doesn't matter. Captain Shrimps comes in with the Destiny and goes on a killing spree, and this is all just random.
He's
got it.
He's doing it.
It's online.
It's doing something. It's making me upset. It's really what it's
out here. The damage on Princess Kyle. He's gonna go down. Short Hop is slaying right now, and the inhib is the next target. One more shot. The curtain call comes out. Can he just pick up everything here? One member falls, Yukio, as the inhibs do as well. Crashing onto LSU's Nexus. Can LSU put up a defense? It doesn't look like they want to. As War Machine Hyper looks for the engage, that poke is getting stunned up and taken, but he goes right back to his team and he's just fine. The Unstoppable comes out for War Machine Hyper. Can't he get the damage off? Stand United gonna save the day. They get absolutely nobody's pack, and that is just random smashing game number 1.
Welcome back to the desk, everybody. I'm Paul with Dylan and Beatdown Boulevard once again. Crazy first game there, fellas. I mean, we saw JR come out swinging. Ultimately, the way I think we sort of expected, right? LSU did have that 2-0 hot start, so I don't want to shirk them of that. But then ultimately, JR kind of took this thing over. And I'm going to kick to you first, Dylan. And we were talking behind the scenes and even throughout watching that first game, and what really needs to happen here for LSU if they're going to give themselves a chance to win this.
I don't know. I mean, we saw the first team fight of the game go very well in their favor. I shouldn't call it a team fight, right? They got a kill in the mid lane. Vivente had some really nice pathing in the early game, ended up getting himself a little bit of an early CS lead, a little bit of an early jungle lead. And there was really nice solo kill top lane, right? So it's clear that these players can, match up pound for pound at least a little bit. My problem comes in the fact that they then just said, okay, we got 3 kills, we have a little bit of a gold lead. Let's hit the brakes, right? Let's just start farming. Let's not make any proactive plays. Let's do nothing. And from about the 4-minute mark until maybe 10 or 11 minutes, there was nothing that happened, right? We saw multiple times where Pocus was looking for roams mid with Rakan, and Short Hop's under tower as Jhin alone against Caitlyn Leona, and he's just able to farm. There's no punishment that's happening. Leona's not burning ultimate to blow his cleanse. Leona's, not Eing in, trying to, blow his flash. Nothing like that. There was absolutely no punish. I don't even think he had to ever burn a summoner spell during the early game.
Nope.
Laning 1 versus 2 most of the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you have such an aggressive early bot lane in Caitlyn and Leona, and in that situation, it's so easy for you to punish that Jhin in that scenario. There isn't really a reason where, especially when the Rakan is roaming that much, that the Jhin is not just permanently under tower, trying to do the best to farm, but instead the Jhin ends up farming under their tower. And like you said,
Yeah.
no pressure whatsoever. I didn't see a single Zenith Blade until that debacle of a team fight just behind their tier 1 tower. And at that point, that was actually a really detrimental fight. Ended up going really well in Just Random's favor. And it feels like that's exactly when LSU lost control of the game and they didn't seem to be able to get back. There was no more power in this Renekton. He was just getting blown up. And at the end of the day, part of it revolves around, LSU are really good at team fighting, but they didn't really team fight around their champions' item spikes. You Rise.
Yeah.
At least let him finish stacking that Seraphs, get maybe Rod of Ages going. Two to 3 items is where you wanted to be. Same with Caitlyn, but they were already looking for some really questionable fights earlier on than they needed to, and they ended up paying for it very seriously. And speaking of item spikes, I'm not really sure about the Frozen Heart Lilia either. I had to bring it up. I know Mazel said Lilia is a sink or swim champion. Unfortunately, I think Frozen Heart's a little too heavy to swim with.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing on that. Like, I think Beatdown. One of the points you made, I think it was really evident to me, is that they were once they got that lead, they were taking fights that's like, why are you taking this? Like, you don't have an advantage, or at least enough of one to really, like, don't let this be the literal hill you die on. And I think we saw that come
Yeah.
to a culmination. We saw that TP from Timmy Turner, and we're like, well, why isn't he TPing the tower? Like, why isn't he right in there? And then he ends up lacking focus, flashing out, and then still dying. It was like that was sort of the epitome of the game, where it was like you took a fight you probably shouldn't have taken. It kind of got sloppy, and then there was still an after effect from it. And at that point, then you knew it was sort of over. And so I think in this one, I think the three of us agree. Like, if you're going to do the scaling thing, like, commit to it. Don't be afraid to take that 3-0 and then really just get behind that scaling idea.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Looking at that bot fight, there is a world where that pans out for LSU. They just didn't really
For
play it
sure.
out well. Like like they spotted the Hecarim and Pocus walking by the Krug camp. There were pings that came out, right? So they know the dive is coming, and instead of just kind of letting them come under tower and then turning it around there with the double teleport, Princess Kyle ends up walking up a little bit too far. He overextends, goes for the Zenith Blade, which ironically is probably the first Zenith Blade of the game.
Literally was.
Yeah. Not really the spot where you want to fight that over by the Tribe Rush, right? You're kind of exposing yourself, and they end up pretty much losing the game off that, because you give that kind of a lead to a team that, on average is up about 700 LP per player, 600 LP per player. You just can't mess up against this team, which is why underdog matchups are so hard, because you give them any sort of a lead, you give them any room to breathe, and they're just instantly taking that and making it into so much more. Whereas a team like LSU, you give them 3 kills in the early game. What does it really mean, right? It depends on the context of the game. It depends on, what they're able to do with it. And this first game showed that they didn't really do anything with that lead.
Yeah, and it's harder too, because at the end of the day, they lost so much map pressure after that play, because again, you don't have those TPs available for quite a long time. And not only was that still an option for the side of just randoms. They also had those global ultimates you talked about, and at that point, it just became a really suffocating game to play for LSU. It was really hard to be anywhere without the threat of the TF ulti, without the threat of the Shen ultimate. And at that point, they didn't really have it. Even Hecarim, who past a certain point could just run across the whole map in a matter of seconds. You couldn't really be anywhere and farm safely. My mind immediately goes to that really unfortunate play where Ryze is trying to farm the Krug camps. What he doesn't realize is all of JR are in their jungle.
Seriously. And so just a couple program updates here as we're talking, fellas. So we do have one other result here. Let me make sure I have it correct. So TBA did go up 1-0 on UTD. So that I think most of us had predicted that. So TBA does take the lead there. We are getting ready for Pro Draft now, just having the players ready up. Because, again, just to refer to what we said earlier, whoever didn't pick first, so in this case, that was LSU, they get to choose sides. And I think, sort of as expected, LSU is going to choose to stay on blue. So it's going to be the same sides as the last game because of the choice from LSU. And I mean, personally, I want to see them. I don't know. I want to see that B1 just have more importance. I just felt like the overall draft, like, I think we sort of all hinted at a draft dip as far as like we felt like JR was able to come up with a lot more interesting engage. And if you're only going to limit your engage to that Leona, Princess Kyler really needs to be enabled and sort of given that confidence and agency to make those plays because and I think we highlighted a couple of times whether it was going after the Jin or some other things that just did or didn't happen. They never really let loose and actually made it engage.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we'll end up seeing, how that ends up panning out in this next draft. Both teams staying on the same side as they were last time, and so far it seems as if the bans are the same in slightly different order, but it doesn't really matter. We're seeing Rumble, Lucian banned away from Captain Shrimps in the mid lane, whereas Tryndamere and Kraves are banned away from LSU. I don't know. The Tryndamere still is a little bit of a question mark for me. We've gotten confirmation that is a real ban, right? They didn't lose a ban.
Yeah.
They're choosing to ban that, so...
Okay. So this time they banned the Jin out too, but what I really want to see is what LSU prioritize in this next game. Are they going to lean back towards that Samira this time? We've seen them do some pretty good work with that champion before. Whether or not they're going to be willing to bring it back is going to be another question here. Or maybe they do want to stick with a previous strategy and go for something different. So it's going to be Galio. Hold on, it could be a mistake. Maybe we give it a second for production to whisper the sweet musings into our ear that was a mistake.
Yeah, seems like it's a real pick. So kind of the theory behind Galio is, at least for this team, we have seen them play it in the mid lane and in the support role. So in JR's mind, this is a flex pick. I don't like first picking Galio because I feel like it kind of commits you to a certain type of style, right? You need somebody that can carry the Galio in team fights, whether that's, Hecarim, Camille is up on the board, whereas it was banned last game. So we could see an early Galio Camille and then pair that with something else, maybe, like a Senna or an Ashe or something like that. Lilia taken by JR makes a lot of sense. It's one of War Machine Hyper's preferred champions just because you can get around, you can do so much in the early game, and that basically is just exactly what he wants to do as a jungler.
Yeah, that set is going to be picked up next. So also potential flex pick for the side of JR. And to your point, it's tough for LSU. Now, with this Galio, they are kind of committed to a more hard engage style just because Galio normally in a lot of compositions offers a lot of engage. He needs to get really up close to make it happen here. I'm still going to be curious to see what role he's played in. At least that is up in the air. But LSU they're actually going to respond with Kindred Ornn.
I mean, I like the Kindred a lot. I think Kindred's just like massively undervalued right now still. And I mean, but I don't know if they're just... Maybe they heard too much of what I said that, they need to like have a bunch more engage. I don't know that they need this much tanky engage around the Kindred. And just like the invulnerability, it seems like they're sort of overdoing this whole, we'll just live forever and outlast every fight.
Yeah, it's a little wonky here because when you're picking Kindred, oftentimes you do it into stuff like Jarvan, maybe into Olaf, things like this where Kindred can really kite it.
Great.
Good luck kiting Lilia because she's going to be running at you very, very fast. And also, I mean, you lay down that Lamb's Respite, and a good Lilia is just going to wait to pop the sleep when the Lamb's Respite's going to time out. You can easily get a multi-man one because everybody's going to be stacked up in one, tight area. And honestly, it's a pretty good matchup for Lilia. So I don't really like the Kindred pick, but I definitely understand the theory behind Kindred and Ornn. I am a little bit worried that still there is no good Galio ult target because nobody's going in. Kindred, Ornn, they're kind of like kiting backwards. Ornn's engaging from far. There's no like diver yet. There's no, Leona. There's no Hecarim. There's no Camille. There's nothing that Galio can just press R on very easily. And the Sylas is something I'm very concerned about, right? Because Sylas into Ornn is something we've seen over and over again. It's just such a good matchup for the Sylas. You outscale him, you end up getting to a point where you can just steal his ult and become a better Ornn. And I don't know. Things are looking really scary for LSU going into the second phase of the draft.
Yeah, that's right. They're gonna have to. It would have to be a pretty miracle AD and potentially mid laner that is support Galio pick to kind of save what they're going with so far. I'm really curious to see what JR are going to as well. They end up banning Caitlyn and Ashe for their last few picks, so I imagine it's going to be the Senna pick, either 4th pick or 5th pick, just because those are two champs that lane really well into Senna, and it wouldn't be bad with their composition as well. Again, it's my main curiosity is going to be with LSU. Okay, so Ezreal. So
yeah, I mean, if I was LSU, maybe here is something like Senna Nautilus. I don't really know exactly what you go for. Yeah, there's the Senna. I want to see something that can go in and at least give Galio a chance to ult. Leona taken off the board by themselves. I mean, the other option.
Rakan here?
Rakan is also pretty good in this spot. I do think he is. He is somebody that can give Galio a good ultimate. Rakan is definitely a good shout. Tom Kench is an option. I don't want to see it. Okay.
Hey,
good call, Paul. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, the Rakan is really good. It adds a little bit more CC to them, and just good Galio ult target, right? Because you can dive in on Sylas at Lilia and easily knock him up with the charm combo and give Galio a good heroic entrance to kind of get in the midst of things.
If you had Paul guessing B5 on your bingo card, you're welcome. Yeah, but I don't know. I think the comp's really interesting for LSU, but I think part of it now that worries me is you're really relying on Kindred a little bit too much, I think. And I don't know if that's some sort of hot take here or not, but I think you're relying on the DPS of Kindred a whole lot more. Like if Kindred gets behind, then you're exclusively leaning on Senna and just a CC train into a team like JR that I think just team fights really, really well. Like you are against an undefeated team. They are a team that's they're not necessarily going to lose lanes. And even if you catch them losing lanes, I'm going to be surprised if you catch them losing team fights just like in sweeping manners where they're just getting caught out by hard engage. And so, well, I like that LSU, I think, has more of an identity this game. I still have concerns for them and just like how hard they're leaning towards just being tanky and lasting a whole long time. Like not dying is not the answer here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the theory behind LSU's comp is, I think the theory behind their comp is that at a certain point when you get to objectives, right, when you get to mid-late game dragons or Baron dances, they do have very strong, objective, team fighting comps. Ornn is arguably the best top laner in the game when it comes to that. Kindred is very good. The Lamps for Spike can turn a lot of team fights. Rakan as well. All these champions have very good team fighting tools. My problem is that when you are on paper a worse team and you got rolled in game one, I don't think this is the composition you pick. This is the composition where it's like, I'll see you at 30 minutes. Let's hope the other team does not like put the pedal to the metal and like maybe we outscale, right? Maybe we have just like, Youmuu's Wraithblade Senna and, Youmuu's Wraithblade Kindred or Black Cleaver Kindred, whatever she opts for. And I feel like you're just putting too much money in the scaling game. And I don't really want to see that when you just kind of got rolled over in that fight.
Yeah, and the thing I wonder about too, always, especially with LSU, but overall, it's like you look at the lanes, because especially with Kindred, even in this meta where farming junglers are super important, getting that lane priority, for the Scuttle Crabs. It's even more important with Kindred because, of course, there's marks. Of course, soon you're going to have to invade to be able to pick up marks of enemy jungler camps. So when I look at these lanes 1-for-1 here between LSU and JR, Galio, the Galio into silence is all right. The Galio hopefully won't get pushed in because he has decent wave clear, and we'll be able to help rotate and secure these because these are going to be really crucial. This early game, I think now more than ever, for that reason, is going to be more important for LSU. Ornn into set. I think a similar situation. I don't know if set is really going to push him under tower necessarily, but at the end of the day, that one's up in the air as well. So this Kindred might struggle in that early game, and if we get into a point where it's Kindred has no marks by 10 minutes, I want to say it's chalked.
Yeah.
I was just about to say final thoughts here before we pass it over to the casters. I mean, for me, I think the comp's entertaining. Like, if I could get a solo queue comp to like end up looking like that, like I'm massively stoked because at least we have some sort of identity. But I don't know that I fall in love with it for a game 2 here in playoffs. And so I'm leaning a lot with you guys here that I think JR maybe is comfortable just let handshake bot lane, let as farm, and then and kick into game. But I think they ultimately take this one 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at this from the perspective of LSU being a theoretical pro team, I think them getting their hands on this comp is amazing, right? I mean, if you see, this is the exact kind of comp you'd see, Fnatic run or some team like that. Like, this is literally champion for champion, exactly what you see, maybe TSM would run this comp. But, like, I think at this matchup, you have to be realistic, and you have to think, how does LSU beat JR in this matchup when you are on average hundreds of LP worse than the opponent? And I don't think the answer is AFK until 30 minutes until Ornn items and scale, because you lost lanes last game. This game, you don't really have a winning lane, right? Assuming it's Galio into Silas, assuming it's set into Ornn, you don't really have a great lane to play towards for the Kindred. You can't really get marks, and it's just not really looking good going into the mid-late game where you want to actually get those team fights going.
Yeah, and so with that, we're going to throw to the casters once again, so you will be hearing the beautiful voices of Mazel and Smacks calling game number 2 in playoffs round here for Risen Champions League. We will be back with the post-game though after this. Enjoy it. We'll see you later.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for the big brain analysis from that draft. But we have some thoughts of our own here, Smacks. I'm going to let you kick it off.
Yes, we are also thinky boys over here while the game is going on. And looking at this draft from LSU and just randoms, I got to say that I do agree with what Dylan is saying, that if LSU is a pro team, this makes a lot of sense, right? You want to play really risk averse. You've got a lot of tools to use to keep your team alive. You got the nice backline of the Kindred and the Senna. My problem here is that this engage that they've put together, I'm not sure who they're trying to engage on, because yeah, they could try to engage onto this Lilia, but these last 2 or maybe even 3 picks here for just randoms are just so pristine at dodging away from any sort of engage, and they already had set too. So as soon as you go in for these hard engaged champions, the Galio, the Ornn, and you could say the Rakan too, and now you're facing down the Ezreal and the Braum, I don't know what LSU is going to do. Like, they can't even back away either. This Ezreal is just such a good pick here. I really, really like that pick from Just Randoms.
I do too. I think Ezreal is so strong in just a general viability in the meta right now, but as well as the little thing I like to point out here is the nicety that Braum is when you pick it into an Ornn, because it's just that being able to block that Ornn horn is so huge. I mean, that's where they're looking to get this big engage from. This is where they're trying to set themselves up right in these team fights. And you stop all that right from the get-go, they're going to be kind of fumbling around.
And you got to remember that this Silas was locked in for Just Randoms too. Any ultimate that LSU really wants to use on their side, they have to be worried about it coming up on the flip side too for Just Randoms. And with the recent Silas buff, in the late game, your ultimate is such a short cooldown. You're getting 2, maybe even 3 ultimates off in the same fight. This champion is insane with those buffs, and Cloud Drake is going to help that even more. You have so much access to cooldown reduction on your ultimate as this champion. It's very, very tricky to fight a late game Silas now with this buff.
It is. We'll have to see if they get lucky with the Dragon RNG, but we are on to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 2 between LSU and Just Randoms. We're not going to have a switch-up of sides. We have a switch-up of champions here, and one of the biggest matchups that I want to keep my eye on is War Machine Hyper on this Lilia. Lilia in game number 1 was very lackluster, not able to get rolling, not able to get what she wanted, and just kind of fell out of the game. This time, War Machine Hyper taking the champion. I want to see if he can set the pace early.
Yeah, this is always the biggest power move in a series like this, taking the champion from your opponent to show them how it's done. That's what I'm expecting here from War Machine Hyper, as we do see a stack up right here for Just Randoms, maybe going for something early on, as here comes Focus.
It's a little late invade by everybody from the side of Just Randoms, and we've seen a lot of things like this go down. The Raptors are going to reset here, though. War Machine Hyper still looking to get the damage. Does get the smite down. This is a big fight to go on early. Big taunt comes out, but it's not going to connect on all the members that they wanted. And we are sub 2 minutes, and we're about to get first blood. Ukio gets up, and he goes down. That's first blood to Captain Shrimp. Who else is going to fall? Look at the passive from Pocus. Can he get the damage? War Machine Hyper. Memento goes down, and it is complete and total destruction for the side of Just Randoms. They have taken the game early, and they will not let it go.
Oh no, Louisiana State! You were the chosen one! I predicted you to win this series! You can't just come in with a play like this, going for the level 1 against Lilia, Braum, Ezreal, Silas. These champions are so strong. They're not even done. They're going on Princess Kyle.
Oh, they even got the passive proc as well. Princess Kyle to get out of there. And oh my God, Smacks. Not even 3 minutes in, 1.5K in the lead, and Just Randoms are taking the momentum from game number 1 and just shoving it into the mouths of LSU.
Oh my. Kyle! Come on, man.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know about that one, Coach. But, you know, given the early gold to get the shutdowns later on, right? You're scaling. You're trying to fatten the pigs up a little bit here, Smacks.
Focus didn't even get an assist on that last
He
kill.
didn't.
That was just
I know.
Short Hop landing his abilities onto this squishy early game Rakan. You know, at least he's walking back to base with a Fairy Charm, but that's not even very safe. You probably want the health potions if you're going to get taken that low in this lane, Kyle.
That's really, really rough to start early on. We are going to get a replay here. Oh, you saw us? But
Hi, guys.
You know, what's up? Hello! We are going to be getting that for you in just a moment. But man, again, War Machine Hyper just setting himself up right here, getting started early on the Lilia, just like the Lilia did last game. But it's a bit of a different story this time.
Ooh, all right, yeah, we do get this level 1 now, and like I mentioned, this level 1 is just so strong for Lilia and Braum. You get the movement speed just running rampant from this Lilia, and the stuns on everyone from Focus.
Yeah,
look at this, and then
huge.
Captain Shrimps gets that kill over there onto
The
Yukio.
passive. The Braum passive. This just spreading the love here.
Oh yeah, this
You
is
just
level
hit
1.
everybody once. It's like, hey, have fun. This is your field day.
You really just have no chance if you're the champions on LSU here. I don't know what they're thinking in this fight. Like,
Yeah.
Kindred, you start W on this champion. You really,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't even jump around. We're gonna get TP?
TP? All right, Chim looking for it. They're only level 4, but they got the stun from the minion wave. And this is like a surgical knife through butter right now, Smacks.